This episode of Digital Photography Cafe is brought to you by Focus Pyramid, the autofocus lens calibration tool for your camera.
Welcome to the Digital Photography Cafe. I'm Trevor Current, your digital marketing guy.
And I'm Joseph Christina, your professional photographer.
So grab a latte, pull up a chair, and join us as we chat about the art and business of photography.
So hey everybody, welcome back to the show. Last week we talked about the Samsung Galaxy camera, Canon's PowerShot G15 for the Pro, and network opportunities at business expos. If you haven't listened to last week's show, I encourage you to do so. You can find it at our website, digitalphotographycafe.com, in iTunes, listen with the popular Stitcher and TuneIn radio apps, and now watch on HD TV on TiVo.
So Joe, we are back, episode 82. How have you been?
Pretty good. 82. We are here. The holidays are just, they're right around the corner. Everything is getting crazy. You can't drive anywhere here in Florida. Everyone's nuts. And, the malls are packed. It's kind of fun. It kind of gets to be a little bit annoying, and there's like so much hustle and bustle, but, I kind of like it.
I don't mind it as long as you don't have to get a lot of stuff done.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember back in the day, when you'd have to go to the mall and you'd have to shop there because that's the only way you could get stuff. I mean, now Amazon Prime, baby.
Yeah.
I order what I can.
That's kind of like foreshadowing, that's this Amazon Prime and a bunch of other ones are kind of like the downfall of things, but that's for another discussion. But it's just, for me, I like to get as much of the holiday shopping done as early as possible because, as a photographer, as a creative, one of my passions is just to watch people. I'm like a people watcher. I just find it fascinating just to see what people are doing, how they do it, how they interact with each other. I mean, I don't know. I just
my wife and I get a kick out of that when we go out. Well, that's what we do. We people watch. We're sitting in a restaurant and we kind of just look around the place. I mean, we could go almost the entire dinner and not even talk to each other and kind of just look around and make eye contact with each other. And we know exactly what we're thinking. It's
amazing how that is. Yeah, it's just fun. I really like it. And that's why, I like to have a small camera with me, whenever possible, because, let's say you're people watching, you're at the mall and you want to take a couple of, as we call them, street shots, more candid stuff, things that are going on.
Sure.
And you just can't break out a DSLR or, even one of these bigger point and shoots. You want something really small and micro. And then we were talking about on last show, that's my wish, that's one of the top of my wish list is a full frame, little tiny rangefinder that's digital, that does well in low light,
right,
with a viewfinder. And, and I'll be good,
Things are evolving every day. I mean, last week we talked about the Samsung Galaxy camera. And, so this week we have Will.i.am of the Black Eyed Peas. He unveils his new iPhone camera attachment.
I know.
And it's kind of a case and a camera and all kinds of stuff kind of built into one here.
Yeah, it's called the Photo Socio, I guess.
Photo Socio. Yeah, like social, I guess. Yeah.
Something like that. Or maybe show me the money. I don't know, something like that. So, but yeah, it's kind of interesting, and I'm thinking about, I'm like, man, Will.i.am, and he's doing stuff in the photography world, so is he an avid, photo buff? Is he an enthusiast? Is he like the semi-pro? Or did he just, get a whole crap load of money to represent
somebody
this project?
May have come to him like as a partner, like, hey, put your name on it and you pimp it out and we'll share in the proceeds. And here's my invention. Here's my idea.
Exactly.
I don't know. I mean, so the idea being is that it's a case or a body that your iPhone fits into, and your iPhone becomes the brains of this thing. Right. And you have this body that encompasses a lens and a flash and thing, and actually interchangeable lenses.
Right. So
it comes with a fisheye, a wide, and a telephoto.
Right.
But what's interesting is it converts basically the 8 megapixel built-in iPhone camera into a 14 megapixel sensor.
Yeah, so I guess if you guys are listening out there and you're like, "What the heck is this?" Just think of it as a camera that has like a hollow spot in the back that's perfectly the size of either a 4S, or an iPhone 5.
Right.
And you just stuff that in there, and now all of a sudden that becomes your GUI, your graphical user interface that interfaces with this camera piece thing or whatever. Yeah, so it converts it turns into a 14 megapixel, which is really cool. The interchangeable lenses, love that. That's really cool. Built-in flash. It's kind of neat, and it goes back to what we were talking about last week, where so Samsung had the Galaxy, which is basically an Android Jelly Bean latest operating system device that is a camera.
Yeah, it's a smartphone without the phone, and it really is a point and shoot camera. And now this device kind of takes your smartphone and converts it more into a real point and shoot camera rather than just using the iPhone built-in camera. So kind of interesting, the convergence of these devices, and we've been saying for a while, everything is kind of merging into one device.
Yes.
So this is kind of interesting. I mean, would I buy one? Probably not.
Yeah.
But it's interesting where the technology is going.
Yeah, it's kind of like an amalgamation of this, like a whole bunch of things all melted into one unit that does all kinds of things besides laundry. So is it cheap? No, it's not. It's going to be available December 6th. It's going to be coming out anywhere from $320 on up to $480. That is not a cheap piece.
No, I mean, that's the price of a
kit,
point
no matter how you look
so,
at it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We'll kind of keep everyone abreast to it. I think it's cool. I like it more than just for the camera. Like, we still, there's no specs yet that we know exactly what this thing's going to look like when it's done. What do the pictures look like? How does it do in low light? What is what does it shoot? What's the ISO? What are these? What are the lenses? What do they run at? But anyways, we'll kind of keep everyone informed. I like it though, because it is, like we're talking about, it is a melding of so many different things into one. So we'll see what happens. Yes, so another thing that God, I don't know. Whenever we talk about copyright, it just kind of gets me. I just cringe. But I was reading an article, and the article had to do with, it was from World Photo, and it had to do with this proposed bill that was coming into existence in the UK, that basically threatens the rights of copyright holders and how it does it is, and it reminds me very much of like the SOPA thing and and the PIPA thing and all that. Basically, what it's saying, this bill that is set to be listened to, it's saying basically that, hey, if any work that's out there that does not have the copyright holder, the rights holder's information hard baked into the file, it basically becomes an orphan work that's just it's public domain at that point.
Yeah, it's up for grabs.
And that's on so many levels screwed up.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so we have metadata that we embed in our Lightroom files and our Photoshop files. We put all of our information in there, all of these meta tags and everything, and then we know that they can easily be stripped out.
Exactly.
So once your image gets out into the wild, something simple as, you submit it, some images that get, you send to your wedding client.
Sure.
And now somehow somebody gets a hold of these images, they strip out the metadata, and the next thing you know, they're claiming it as theirs. It's up on stock photography, what have you. It turns into a big mess of things. And It's not just for UK-based photographers, because if us here in the US or in any other country in the world create an image and someone in the UK gets a hold of it and they can strip out the data, They can claim it as their own. They can use it. They don't have to give any accreditation to it. They don't have to acknowledge any photographer's rights. Right. And basically, our whole, claim to damages and all that stuff are out the window. It doesn't matter what we're doing here in the U.S.
Yeah, so basically there's zero compensation to the photographer, number one. Yep. The image now is just free for, a free for all. They can do whatever they want with it. And they can just take it as their own, manipulate it, modify it. And there's no notification to the photographer either. So it's really, really problem. And, okay, so you're looking at it on the side of someone going in there and physically stripping out the metadata, taking that out, and now all of a sudden it's an orphan work. How about the other side of it? So many of these different, sharing sites do it automatically. You upload it, let's say to Facebook, or maybe it's, Instagram or whatever it is. Many times, a lot of the metadata is being automatically stripped out as it's bringing it online. So maybe, some of this metadata being lost could not necessarily be the evil guy doing it to try to steal someone's work, but it just, it's just the circumstances of how these systems are put into place and how they work. And now all of a sudden there's no metadata. So now all of a sudden it's an orphan work. So
sure.
Big,
and you
big
upload,
problem.
Yeah. You upload an image to a file sharing network, and that network has their images open and available to the public. And now they get indexed by Google Images. Now all of a sudden those things are available in Google Images. And and we know that people use Google Images as like a source of stock imagery.
Sure.
They just go there, they put in a search term, they look through the images, and then they grab stuff and just think that they can use it.
Yeah,
this is a real problem.
It's a very, very big problem. And, hopefully, our friends over there on the other side of the pond, fight as adamantly against this as we did for this whole SOPA thing, and now the PIPA thing that's going to be, that's still up for consideration. I can't even believe that,
Right.
So if you don't know what SOPA is Stop Online Anti Piracy Act, and the PIPA thing is the Protect IP Act, and they're both very, very heavy-handed legislation. And especially with SOPA, there was such an uprising that just got completely crushed, completely stopped in the House.
Yeah. And
never went any further, thank God. But hopefully the same thing happens in the UK, because this kind of stuff is it could really I would say not only just negatively affect the photographers in general, but it will affect all photography in the future. It would be very, very problematic.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's protesters from around the world writing letters, petitions, things like that. All of the major photographers associations, ASMP, Professional Photographers Association. I mean, they're all getting involved in this because it does really affect everybody, worldwide. So this really is a big problem. And honestly, I just don't even understand why they're entertaining something like this. I mean, our photographers and creatives, people who post imagery online, I mean, we have a hard enough time protecting our works. Now you throw something like this in there, and it just, why even bother at that point?
And hard enough time these days getting paid for the work that we're doing. So, anything to make it harder on the photographers is going to be, it's not good. So anyways, we're going to definitely keep up to date with this. And if there ends up being some petition out there or something, we're going to let you guys know about it, where you can go to kind of go and sign, give you some more information. We'll give you some more information in the show notes. Anyways, you can kind of read about this. And we just, as photographers, we need to stay on top of this stuff, because the legislators, they will just walk all over us if we give them the opportunity, in a heartbeat. They would not even consider us, and it just happens. So, but anyways, I tell you what, we have a very interesting piece that we're going to be talking about just after the break. But let's go ahead and take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to be talking about 3 easy steps to engaging your customers. So stay tuned.
Are you frustrated with slightly out of focus images when you know your autofocus spot was dead on? It's simply not your fault. From manufacturer to manufacturer, and even lens copy to lens copy, there are slight variances to the exact spot where light is being focused onto the sensor. Finally, there's a product that allows you to compensate for those variances and make sharper images immediately. Focus Pyramid, the autofocus lens calibration tool, is an absolute must for every photographer. If you want to make the sharpest images possible, then you need to take control over your camera's focusing system. With the Focus Pyramid, you can calibrate all of your lenses on your lunch break. The Focus Pyramid makes lens calibration quick and easy at an affordable price. So give your lenses a new lease on life and take your photography to the next level. Head over to focuspyramid.com/DPC and get an additional 10% off just for being a show listener.
So, why don't you tell me a little bit about these 3 easy steps?
Yeah, sure. So one of my favorite business blogs out there is called Social Media Examiner. And if you guys are really looking to get some marketing, some social media tips and stuff, definitely go check them out. They're really great. But they put up a post the other day titled 3 Easy Steps to Engaging Your Customers. And the article was centered around a book titled Engagement Marketing: How Small Businesses Win in a Society, in a Socially Connected World. Right. And that's from an author, Gail Goodman, who actually is the CEO at Constant Contact.
And we love Constant Contact, and I'm sure many of you guys out there probably use them.
Yeah, exactly. So really, I mean, the concepts in the book aren't really anything new, but they're really a great refresher on things that we've talked about on past shows.
Right.
So I guess the first starting place is, what is engagement marketing?
Right.
So it's not just having conversations on your blog and Facebook. I mean, that's what a lot of people think. Oh, go out in social media and just chat with people, just talk back and forth, just show that you're there, you're listening, you're involved, and what have you. And that, that's part of it. But engagement is when people qualify themselves by saying, yes, I'm interested in your company. Help me learn more about you. I mean, they're acknowledging you, they're accepting you, and they're getting excited about working with you and wanting to know more about you.
Right. So instead of you pounding the pavement looking for them, they're actually looking for you. And when they find you, they're asking you for information. They want to learn more about you and what you do and the services you offer and how you can help them, because they're actually interested.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So the article breaks the process down into 3 steps, but on this show, we're going to kind of talk about step 1, which is deliver a wow experience.
The wow factor.
Wow. Yes. So in the past, I know on one of the shows, we talked about the customer experience and all about, how to deliver, a great customer experience, kind of some things that you should be doing.
Make sure you're very smelly. Yeah. You don't listen to what they want. You do whatever you feel like doing. You're nasty.
Yep. Yeah, that's right. Well, you know what? I mean, repeat business from existing customers and word of mouth referrals. I mean, that's really how most people get their business.
Yeah, the number one way is by far referrals, because those referrals, they're qualified and they are ready to sign with you. They've seen your work. Yep. And they have someone out there saying that you are fantastic and that you have to use this guy. Yeah, full endorsement. I mean, at that point, it's a no-brainer. They know what you look like. They know who you are. They know what your work is like. At that point, it's basically, how much is it? And can you do X for me?
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. So really what you want to do to figure out how to deliver this wow experience. I mean, the wow experience is just that. Wow, this person is great to work with. This company was great to work with. I had such an amazing experience. So what you want to do, you want to kind of step back and look at every part of your business from the customer standpoint. So for example, what happens when somebody calls your business phone? Do you answer it? Does somebody at your studio answer it, or do they get voicemail? If they leave a voicemail, how quickly do you return calls? I mean, that's very important.
That's huge.
In a day of voicemail, everybody calls. Nobody answers the phones anymore. Everybody gets voicemail, which is fine. I mean, that's kind of accepted. But how quickly do you return those calls?
I tell you what, as a little side note or a quick tip is, if if you don't answer the phone very often because you have a ton of work that you're doing, or you're kind of letting it kind of go through so you can kind of see who it is, see if you want to talk to them or not.
Kind of screening the call.
Yeah, kind of like a little bit of a screening. The one thing that I always suggest is go ahead and put a little note there besides, leave me a message at the beep, blah, blah, blah. Go ahead and give them your email address, or go ahead and give them your Twitter account information. However, it is easier for you to communicate, because everyone communicates different. Some people are like, iPhone fiends, and they're or Android fiends, and they're sitting there on DMing people all day long. Other people are Facebooking all day long. Other people love email. If there's an easier way than a phone call, definitely give them that option so that they can get a hold of you quicker than, how long it would normally take you to get back with them, let's say via voice, right?
Yeah, sure. That's great. I mean, and that's all part of having a system for dealing with incoming contacts, whether it be a prospect, or whether it be an existing client. How do you handle the call? How do you flow it through your system? It's so easy to say, oh yeah, I'll call them back. Completely forget about it. You write it down on a Post-it note and you stick it somewhere, and the note gets lost. I mean, you got to come up with a system to keep track of all this stuff. And that's just part of good organization. And that's not everybody's cup of tea, but unfortunately, when you're in business, it really needs to be.
Yeah, and as creatives, we know that business is always secondary. We want to be out there creating. We want to be out there taking pictures. We want to be editing. We want to do what we consider fun stuff. And usually the money side, the marketing, the communication back and forth through emails is usually secondary or tertiary to the actual the creative stuff. So it's, we don't like doing it. So sometimes we put it off. And it shows, it's definitely a problem.
It really is a problem. And to that, I would say, if it's not something that you want to do, then potentially, hire it out. There's answering services out there that you can get. There are freelancers. You can go on to Fiverr.com and you can hire people to do certain tasks for you for minimal amounts of money. I mean, the idea is $5.
Hire a VA, right? You can get a virtual assistant.
Exactly. You hire a VA. I mean, there's lots of different things that you can do if it's not really something that you want to handle directly.
Sure.
So definitely, you got to explore your options. Just don't write it off and whatever. You need to come up with a good system for handling this. And that will really help wow you. Like, wow, this person got back to me, because 9 out of the 10 other photographers will take a couple days to get back to
exactly. And that's the problem. What you need to do is you need to be, first out there. When that call comes in or that request comes in, you need to stop everything and answer that, because that's your next, that's your next dollar. If you don't get that, you're editing a job that you already got paid for. That's fine and all. But when a request comes in, you need to answer it immediately. And that comes over, back over into your website. What does your website look like?
Right.
And, is it easy for people to contact you through your website? Do you make it very mobile friendly? Can you get to your website and be able to just click a button and your, Android or your iPhone immediately calls the number? Is it easy for people to get to your location because your address is in text format and not in a picture?
Right.
There's a lot of pieces of the puzzle that your website really needs to serve properly also.
Sure. I mean, does your website have Flash?
Right.
I mean, we beat on this Flash thing. It's got to be dead by now, but
it's not.
No, it's not. That's the problem. And these Flash websites are not mobile friendly. And more and more people know, we know that they're going to your site from mobile devices.
Yeah.
And, and with mobile devices, do you have a responsive website design? We talked about that a few weeks ago, how your website will automatically resize to different screen resolutions and formats.
Right.
So the iPhone, tablet devices, Androids, what have you. So that's really important. I mean, statistics show that if a customer has a bad experience with your website, it's very likely that they'll leave and never come back.
Yeah, and that bad experience is within probably, I think the stats were 7 to 12 seconds, 15 seconds, something like that. So that bad experience happens so quickly that, everyone says, oh, put your best foot forward, and you have a minute to kind of get people's attention, and that doesn't happen with the web anymore. Now, okay, so, all right, so now you have this beautiful site. Well, now you're going with a provider that it always has, let's say issues with connection issues, or it's slow. Well, guess what? If your site doesn't load in those 7 or 8 seconds, they hit the little X button. They go back to Google, and then they go to, option number 2 and number 3 and number 4. They will be gone. You won't even be able to show them your work.
Sure. I mean, we've all done it, right? I mean, we've gone to click on a link from Google and
it's spinning.
The site takes forever to load, and we just think, oh, all right, it's one of those domains that just don't exist anymore, or what have you. And and we hit the X button in the browser bar, and we go back and we click on another link. So speed is very important, and the speed of your website is also one of the factors Google uses to determine your ranking.
Exactly.
So a slow website, you're going to get a lower ranking.
So make sure your pictures are as small as they can be, that still looks great on all the devices that you want the work to be shown on. Remember that we have Retina displays out there now. So not only do they have their 72 PPI or DPI, but maybe an image that's 640 that now is 720, and now it's 2048, 2048. I mean, you need to make these images big enough that they look great on the biggest possible unit that it'll be viewed on. So in light of that, it's very, very critical that you crush these images in a very good way, that they still look great, but they're small and load quickly.
Yeah, exactly. Then taking it from the virtual, from the website into the physical, do you have a storefront or a retail type of studio? Are you one of those types of photographers that have that space, or do you work out of a home studio, or are you more of a location shooter? These are things that you need to take into account. So where do you have your prospect and client meetings? Do they come to your house? Do they sit at your dining room table? Or do you go to a diner where maybe it's noisy and it's too public, it's distracting? Or
how about if you do none of that and you say, hey, here's a URL.
Visit my website, or you try and do everything over the phone and the email and everything. I mean, the idea here is that you want to create a wow factor. You want to go a step beyond what everybody else is doing. And everybody else is doing phone and email because they really don't want to be bothered. They don't want to be bothered going out and doing that personal contact. And the idea being, they're thinking in their head that, well, I'm going to go and I'm going to spend this time with this person who may not book me, and then it's just going to be a big waste. Right. Well, by not having this client interaction, maybe this face-to-face with them, you're kind of almost guaranteeing that you're not going to get the work unless they're just so blown away from what they've seen on your portfolio website, or they've just got such an amazing referral from somebody that they hire you anyway.
Yeah, I tell you what, one thing that you can do, and many people are like, oh, I don't want to drive, 50 minutes to go and meet with somebody and then not get the job. Right. Well, if you do have a studio, meet there. Set up the studio nicely. Make sure it smells good. Make sure you're offering, maybe different flavored coffee. Make sure that, everything is bright and airy, and you're showing your work on the walls, and you have, portfolios out and this type of thing. So they have a very nice experience. That's the main thing, is that experience. Now, you don't want to go drive around. Well, if you don't have a studio, maybe you like everyone else, and attorneys and doctors and everyone seems to meet now at a Starbucks. We'll meet in a Starbucks somewhere halfway. Take this all into consideration. But when you do that, make sure you bring your iPad or whatever device you have for showing your work properly, and you look good, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that is one of the issues about doing these public meeting places. It's distracting. It's noisy. You're trying to have a conversation. You can't talk like what you and I are doing right now. And
Right.
just, a nice casual conversation. Sometimes you've got to like yell a little bit or, oh, I'm sorry. What did you say?
Right.
So, I mean, that's definitely something to take into account, but it's not like you can go to a library either where and you
but
can't
I
talk
still,
at all.
I tell you what, Trevor, I still find that to be a better situation than strapped behind the computer, talking to them through Skype or through a telephone call on your phone. That social interaction, that's true in person social interaction, will get you the job more times than not. So, need to shake hands. I mean, people forget about that all the time, in the day of social media that we're in. Everyone thinks that they can just sit behind the computer and do all their marketing there and talk with people on the phone and never see them and maybe do a Skype chat, with video. It's not the same. It's not the same.
It really isn't. I mean, that was the whole point of the whole Chamber of Commerce conversation from last week.
Right.
Getting out there, networking. For me, it's more B2B stuff. So
Sure.
I'm working with other businesses. I'm helping build their brands. I'm building their online identities. And for me to get out and shake hands with these people, like you said, and chat with them, that's golden for me. I mean, that's my golden ticket.
Absolutely.
That's how I'm going to get the business. So
that's how they know, in a handshake, if you like somebody or not. It's very
Absolutely.
funny how people, we're animals, we feel each other out very quickly. Even people that don't think that they can do that, but they do. And, inadvertently you do. You meet someone immediately, you're like, do you like them or do you not? First impression, chances are you're going to know, who that person is, or at least, how you feel about them. That is big, especially if, like with me, I have like commercial clients that are going to be spending, let's say, a lot of money.
Oh, yeah.
They really want to know who you are. Do you seem like a fun kind of person to work with, or are you going to be like this drab, drony, person that's going to be on set that just make everyone miserable,
Yep.
It's important. You need to be able to meet with people.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, these are all questions just leading up to getting the work.
Right.
So these are things that you have to ask yourself. So I'm thinking what we'll do on the next show, we'll continue the wow discussion and dive into performing and delivering the work and the follow-up after the job is complete.
Right.
Because, I mean, this can kind of go on for a long time, but this is all really great information that you need to look at your business.
Right.
And I kind of go back to say, the business side of photography really is the hardest part. And if you're not up for it, then maybe that's being in your own business as a photographer. Maybe that's not the best thing for you to do.
Right.
I mean, I hate to discourage anybody, but it's so competitive out there. And if you're not wowing your customers, if you're not giving them something that they can't get from everybody else in your town, then you're fighting a losing battle. I mean, you may make enough money to pay some bills, but you're never going to truly be successful from the standpoint that, you can make a great living. You're not worrying about where your next, paycheck's coming from. I mean, that's really what we all want to strive for, is just to be comfortable. Maybe not rich, but to be comfortable.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyways, I think that's good. And, I look forward to that next conversation that we'll have about this wow decision, because it's important. It's very important. As a studio owner for many, many years now, I look at some of these things that we discuss. We have these conversations, and many of the things that we talk about, I'm not doing. And I'm like, I used to do that, but I don't do that anymore. Or, I used to do this better than I'm doing it now. And I kind of, it's very easy to become complacent. So even if you have something that just works 100%, all the time, within a year, all of a sudden you're down to 60%, you become lethargic and, you're complacent and you're just not doing it. So just going over this stuff, it just makes you think, and it gives you kind of pause to kind of look back and look at your system that you have in place from afar, from a distance. But sometimes, you can't see the forest and the trees. You're like stuck in there and everything looks like it's going fine, but you don't know why your sales are going down. Well, if you step back and you kind of look at it and start asking some of these questions, you might find the answer.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. You're very right. I mean, it's very easy to become complacent. It's very easy to think that you're doing just a great job. And that's why, these things that we're talking about, I mean, this isn't rocket science. I mean, this is pretty common. I mean, you don't even have to be a business major to get these concepts here. But sometimes just that refresher to say, yeah, you know what, maybe, I am a little slow right now. It is the holiday season. So unless you're a portrait photographer doing holiday cards and stuff like that, you may be a little slow. So maybe now is the time to step back, start evaluating your business, looking and seeing what your customers see, and trying to make some changes in preparation for 2013.
Excellent. So we will be getting into this very, very soon.
Yes, we will. So Joe, we are out of here. We want to thank everybody again for listening and watching the show. And if you're not subscribed and you're an Apple device user, we encourage you to head over to iTunes. Definitely you can subscribe to the audio or video version right there. While you're there, we'd love for you to give us a 5-star rating. If you really like the show, maybe put up a review there. That really helps us out a lot. It helps to grow the show, and we definitely would appreciate that. If you're not an Apple user, you know what? We've got an RSS feed too. You can go and grab that, get it right down to your Zune or any other MP3 player that you have.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, Joe, if people want to connect with you, how is the best way to reach you?
You can find me on Twitter. I'm always on Twitter. You can find me at Joseph Christina, and that is Christina without an H.
Excellent. And you can find me on Twitter. It's at Trevor Kern.
All right, Trev. That is show 82 in the can. Great show as always. If you guys have any questions or topics you'd like discussed on next week's show, send us a message to our website, digitalphotographycafe.com. Or you can connect with us on Twitter. Once again, Twitter. Love Twitter. That's at DPhotoCafe. If you're listening on the go, fear not. Everything that we covered during this week's show can easily be found in our show notes at our website. Once again, keep your questions and comments coming, and we'll talk to you next week.